right, great. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started because the event is being recorded. I'm sure more people will join. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're connecting to us from. My name is Stanislas Martins. I'm the president of the Association of Digital Marketing Professionals of Nigeria, called ADMAP. And this training is part of our training calendar for the month of July. This particular training, by popular demand, this training initially was supposed to be a closed one for ADMAP members only. But by popular demand, we've opened it up to the public just as a way to give back to society, help upskill. We've been having quite a lot of trainings. We released a calendar in June. And so far, we've gone through a number of sessions, with another one even happening yesterday that was not planned. That was the one around the cans recap, which was also very, very fantastic. Yes, we had Chukudi Eze a few weeks before. Nengi was on yesterday. And today we have a very good friend of mine, Muiwa Leshin Lawyer. I've seen his slides. And I was actually thinking we should start charging people for this presentation because the slide is really, really top quality. And you all will be benefiting a lot from this. Thanks again, Muiwa, for agreeing to do this for us. The next session after Muiwa's session is also going to be a very good friend of mine. Going to be facilitated by Tunji Adelekon. Super experience, very, very practical. This one is also going to be for ADMAP members only. And the very, very last one for the month is going to be by let me call him a guru in marketing communications, Joshua Kimbanjo. I think if you've got digital skills and you don't have the right skill set to manage your clients, you will struggle because skill is never just good enough. These guys are real seasoned account management professionals, and I think pretty much everybody here that works with clients or works with partners, you need to have this skill set of being an account manager. We are just starting. Why are there questions already? Somebody has put an AI to take notes. Okay. We'll disable this your AI now, Samson. Why everybody is training an AI? What AI is going to turn this world into a Allah Magbawa? Now God will help us. Okay, that's fine. Moving on quickly. Yes, this is the calendar. I'm trying to move very quickly so that we can get to the meat of this. We've asked for your feedback as an association because we want to ensure that for the rest of the year, we come fully loaded with more training programs for you. And this time around, we actually want you to contribute. And you have sent in quite a lot of topics that you like us to cover: e-commerce, performance marketing, search engine optimization, influencer marketing, and the list goes on and on. Real-time bidding, programmatics and stuff. I mean, the training, the recommendations are fantastic, and we will build training programs around this. But what we are still missing is for you to recommend actual facilitators to us. We want you people to come out. If there's a particular topic you feel you can take, feel free, look for the link in the WhatsApp group and also contribute. We need more people. We need more ladies as well. So beyond just recommending a topic, also recommend somebody you feel could also facilitate. Yes, that is it. I mean, you might see Muiwa and myself rocking the same snapback. Trust me, 100%, it wasn't planned. It just happens to be the best snapback in the entire world. Totally not planned. So let me not give myself a private shout out. So without much ado, I'm just going to hand over to Muiwa. The session is being recorded. So ultimately this will go on our social media pages. We share it in the community as well so that you can always rewatch it. Muiwa, over to you.
Thank you, Stan. Let me just make sure I'm sharing the right screen.
Yes, you are now.
Great. All right. So good morning, everyone, or afternoon or evening, wherever you're joining us from. It's really great to be here. Thanks, Stan and the ADMAC team for the opportunity. I think it's really important that as we grow in our journey, in our careers, that we stay in touch with what's happening around us, but also with the people around us as well. Whether it's at our level above or just upstarters in the space. I think particularly in the advertising and marketing industry, we don't do that enough. We don't share knowledge, experience. We don't share our case studies as you would find in other markets. So if you want to find a use case from a culinary brand, for instance, or a tech startup, oh, how did these guys do this campaign? You won't find that anywhere online. And I think it's more of an African thing, unfortunately. We think that if we share, that someone is going to use that and be better than us. But I think collaboration is the best type of competition that you can have. Because when you actually collaborate and you share, you start to see things in a different light and perhaps see things in a way that you haven't thought about it before. And other people can also contribute to your point of view and also elevate your thinking. So anyways, thanks again for this platform. Today, we'll be talking about digital marketing appreciation, particularly for C-suites, but also for marketing leaders and even business leaders, to see how we can stay afloat, stay ahead, have competitive advantage in this ever-changing market and climes. We keep hearing about new buzzwords, new tech. Just yesterday, Samsung did the Samsung Unpacked. You know, there's always something new, right? And sometimes you might feel like it's so much, but particularly for business leaders that you have, you know, little time to make an impression, it's important that you're able to sift through what matters, cut through all the clutter, and take the gems and bring it to life and apply it to your business for growth. So it will be focused about how we are leveraging new media and the tech that we have in today's markets to drive business growth. So a brief introduction about me. Some of you might know me, but I'll just recap. My name is Muyiwa Aleshina. I'm currently the Director of Digital and Media at Publicis, and I oversee Central and West Africa region. I've had the opportunity and honor of working on several brands across different categories and industries, from startups to non-governmental organizational, not-for-profit, tech, financial services, FMCG. And I think that gives me a lot of insight into what works across different categories and be able to take what works and apply it to other spheres. To start off today's discussion, I want to ask us a series of questions. And Stan, please help me with this. It's going to be a short poll, very direct questions that we can have a conversation going from there. The first question is this: which is more important? If you're looking at traditional media or digital media or digital marketing, as it depends on how you want to see it, which is more important, traditional or digital? The second question is, which is more important, creative or media? And the third question is, which is more important, brand building or performance marketing? I mean, clearly we know brand building is everything that is gathered towards or directed towards building your brand equity and not necessarily looking at short-term benefits. So brand building is more about looking at the long-term impact of your brand, positioning it for growth and differentiation amongst a competitive category, right? So everything that is for the long term, whether it's your brand assets, your brand logo, your vision statement, all of those things, your brand identity, those are brand building elements. And even when you look at it from a campaign point of view, there are things that speak to the brand position and the brand values and not necessarily to drive sales in the short term. Whereas for performance marketing, I mean, this is a phrase that has been going around for a few years now. It's really about short-term impact, straight to the point, direct conversion, focused on the mid to bottom of the funnel when you're looking at it from a consumer journey perspective, right? And you can say brand building is the opposite. It looks at top of the funnel. So if you can just answer within this poll, just let me know which one. Just click which one you think is more important for each of the three questions, and we can have a conversation around that. Oh, good. So keep it coming. I can't see the answers yet. So Stan, you please help me.
Yeah, I can. I assumed you could see the answers. So not surprisingly, which is more important, traditional and digital? 7 entries so far, 100% digital. I'm not surprised. This is a digital marketing association. So yes. Which is more important, creative or media? This is also very interesting. While we all know that a lot of us, what we spend most of our time doing is media buying, creative is 86% of the answer. So it's nice to see that guys know that creative is super, super important. 86% to creative.
Okay.
And last question, which is more important, brand building or performance marketing? Uh, 71% to brand building.
Okay. So 1% in favor of brand building. Interesting point of view. I think there are a lot of quite experienced people in on the call today. I like to start with the first one, and that's around traditional and digital. And as a digital person as well, I get why we all went for digital. Uh, and when I was having this chat with Stan earlier, I was like, oh, there should be a third one. Like, no, it's intentional. It's so we can actually weigh where people's minds at. The reality is, and when you talk to CMOs, and this is why it's really important that we see things from that top view. We need to have a bird's eye view of every moving part. And when we also understand it from the point of view of marketing, it is everything that helps us to explore value, that helps us to create value and deliver value to our target audience. And we know today we are still in Africa, we're in West Africa. For people joining us even around the world, it is not 100% digital world. You still have people that live their lives offline. They're not all zoned into some VR headsets or on their phone 24/7, right? There is still the digital or traditional aspects of the consumer. And again, media guys know this. When we plot our day in life, we always see touch points that are traditional based. We see the out of home, we see cinemas. When we do weekday versus weekends, we see those opportunities to connect with the consumer. And traditional still plays a significant role. Let's even look at it from a budget perspective. The CMO is still spending a lot more budget as of today. Is it spending a lot more budget on traditional channels versus digital? Now, this is not to say one is more important. I think what we should look at is that we should see them as synergic. We need to see them as complementary to one another to deliver overall value and impact for the brands that we work on. Today, we're starting to see a lot of communication and understanding and collaboration between traditional media teams and traditional media planners and digital media strategies and planners, because that's just the way to go. You get a lot more efficiency when you think holistically, even though we have our core competencies, but you need to work with the other side of the fence to really bring wholesome value to our clients. From the CMO perspective as well, he's thinking my entire marketing budget. He's not just thinking about digital marketing. He's not even just thinking about traditional marketing. He's thinking about BTL, right? He's thinking about product design. He's thinking about packaging. So when we have this perspective, we are able to better communicate at the same level with these C-suite guys. Otherwise, you're just going to be talking to them in one compartment, and they'll feel like these guys don't get me. These guys don't really see my challenges. This guy does not know that my product is 60 to 70% of my sales is coming from traditional markets, from open markets, from not even from modern trade, right? So if you keep talking to me about digital, and you're not applying it and you're not tying it to all of those other touch points and consumer needs or even profiles, then they feel that, okay, when I want digital, I talk to these guys, but they're not really helping me solve my 360 marketing challenges. Right. So that's just speaking to the first question. But on the second question, absolutely spot on. Creative actually matters a lot more than media. In fact, in some studies, it said that as high as 70% of creative is responsible for the overall campaign return on investment. Again, this is not to say that media is not important. This is not to say that, the creative guy should just say, no, forget media. If you do not understand the medium in which the consumer is going to receive the message, no matter how good that message is, that creative is, that asset is, it would not deliver, right? So, I mean, that's that. I think overall takeout here is that we need to work a lot closer cross teams. We need to elevate our thinking to be able to see things from the perspective of our key stakeholders, the CMOs, the head of marketing, even the brand managers. So, and then, I mean, we talked about the third question. I think we're clear here. Brand building is still more important than performance when you look at it in terms of ratio or weighting. And there are some studies that say that as much as 60 to 70% of your marketing investment should go towards brand building, and the other going to performance, short-term sales, conversions, retention, all of that, especially if you're building for the long term. I think we're all in this business for the long term. We're not here about short-term gains or vanity metrics, as we used to say back in the day. And really still relevant. So yeah, let me just go into the next part. The next part of this discussion I wanted to share with us is, and I understand that a lot of us are from different parts of the world, but I wanted to show things more from an African perspective, but would also, regardless of where you're from and what markets you are looking at, I think these truths, these insights will also be pertinent in your market. So I want to call out 4 things when we look at the African media landscape and looking at the African consumer. Of course, there are more, but I just wanted to focus on these 4 things as really instructive going into the rest of the year, but also planning for 2025. Let's say first is the changing behavior with how people consume content, and the fact that mobile penetration across markets. I was looking at reports a few days ago, and almost every country in West Africa has mobile penetration above 70%. I believe it was just 2 countries, Equatorial Guinea and DRC, that have less than 70%. Again, this just shows that mobile is really strong. And when you're thinking about communication, a mobile strategy is really important. And when I say mobile, I'm not referring to internet-based communication. I'm talking mobile phone as it is. Internet penetration is a different conversation. Here is really about mobile. How do I reach that A, B, SEC, but also all the way down to the bottom of the pyramid? Mobile is a gateway to that. The other thing I wanted to show here is fragmentation. And media planners, this is a headache. This is getting worse by the day. We are seeing platforms spring up every day. We're seeing different providers. Today is this, tomorrow is that. Probably still the same DMP backend, it's still the same SSP, but we'll just put a different front end, we stamp our logo on it, and we call it something else. But also when we look at providers or stations, they're also different. Today we're looking at Amazon Prime, tomorrow it's Netflix, it's DSTV, Star Times. It's fragmented. it's YouTube, it's all over the place. And the consumer is moving from these different platforms, but because there's no unique identifier, we cannot serve that same person when they move cross-platform. So if I want to advertise to this, we want to reach this person with a message, I need to buy media on this platform, buy media on that platform, buy media on that platform. And it's really stretching my media budget. It's also reducing my sufficiency levels. So all of that makes it a lot more difficult for media planning for advertisers to reach and capture audiences' attention. Next thing here is, which is slightly related, is new screens. We've seen the emergence of new screens from, I mean, we used to talk about mobile phones to laptops to TVs to smart TVs to VR sets. It's growing to handheld games. It's growing year on year. I think when I was looking at these reports about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we used to have between 3 to 4 house devices per household, and that's combined mobile phones, TV. Daddy's mobile phone, mommy's mobile phone, the TV in the main living room, da da da. Now it's up to 6 to 7. That's your kids are having mobile phones, they have a TV in their room, they have a handheld game. It's just increasing. There are laptops and all of that. So average family, 6 to 7 devices. Again, advertisers are having to plan, right? Now you need to work with partners that can help you serve or identify audiences across multiple devices using unique identifiers. So regardless of the device they are on, you're able to reach them, right? Then the fourth point here is around the increasing internet penetration, thank God. For digital marketers, we're going to be happy about this. Internet penetration has been rising steadily across Africa, across West Africa year on year, average of 10% per year. And even when we look at Nigeria, even though our internet penetration has not increased in terms of percentage-wise, in terms of the absolute number, it has, because our population has been growing. Sorry, excuse me. Our population has been growing massively. I think we grew by 20 million just in the past 3 years. So, we're still around 51%, 50% internet penetration, but we've grown from 190 million people to 20 or 230 million people as of today. So different conversations. I also wanted to I'm going to try and skip quickly because I have a few videos down in the slide. Just wanted to point out here again around things that are shaping today's African consumer, from Japa syndrome to climate change to inclusion. Starting to get there's something I call retro tech, and it's under Renaissance, where particularly Gen Zs are starting to get an appetite for old tech, for old things, for old fashion. So you're starting to see the baggy jeans come back, right? The baggy pants come back. You're starting to see even brands adopt retro looks. You'd remember the Pepsi logo. It's actually a take on an old Pepsi logo, right? It's a retro look. So we're starting to go back into that. Today, Gen Zs are finding a way to combine their love for tech, today's tech, modern tech, with old things. So whether it's old fashioned, old tech, you're seeing the boombox come back, and all of that fancy stuff. From tech entrepreneurship to health to Afro inspiration, we know that when it comes to the Nigerian, the African consumer, we're really proud about our identity, our heritage. There's a lot of, go back to Africa, even in terms, looking at the diaspora. We're bringing our fashion to the world stage. We're bringing our language, our culture in film, in music. It's really getting there, right? And it's changing our perception, our identity, our preferences in today's market. So you're seeing a lot more affiliation or affinity for brands that are proudly African, or brands that are embracing some type of African culture or modern culture, or modern take of African art, or on music, on creativity, or even on technology. There's a bunch of startups. I think it was a trend in a while. Like every startup was picking names that were Africa centric. They were just something Ubuntu tech and something. Everyone was just picking something African, right? It's where all of that's coming from, Afro inspiration. Okay, so I'll move quickly to this part of the deck where we're really looking at digital marketing for growth. And I particularly love this quote, and it is from the book by Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I found it very transformational when I read that book, and it's really, really great that I still find a way to apply the learnings, the principles in my life and in my work today. And when I think about strategy, when I think about strategy development, this rule, this principle comes to mind every time. I start with it. I say, begin with the end in mind. What's the end you want to achieve? What's the goal you're trying to achieve? Which in our case is the brief, right? We go back to the brief, we interrogate the brief, we look at the KPIs, what are the outcomes? And that's really where it starts from. Then what is best to do when in helping you structure that end is something that is very common. I'm sure we've heard this. It's almost cliche now, but it's really, really difficult to do when you really get to it. Setting smart objectives. And we've heard this acronym for years now. It's the SMART acronym, right? Where S stands for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, and T for time-bound or timed, right? And that should really be how we couch and distill and phrase out what the end we have in mind is. So when we set these SMART objectives, it should be specific. What's our objective? We want to increase our market share from 47% to 55%. So it's specific. Is it measurable? Yes, we're giving that. Is it achievable? So of course, that's a conversation you need to have. Who are the other players in the market? What are they doing? What's the activity? What is our plan? What's our budget? What are the products that we have? So you help answer that question if it is achievable. If not, you tell your CMO, you tell your client partner, yes, this is smart, it's a measurable objective, but it's not achievable. You need to revise that plan, or you need to change some of the variables, whether you're introducing a new product, whether you are changing your packaging, whether you're fixing that complaint that people have been talking about, whether you're increasing the budget. I intentionally put the budget last because most of the time we always think the budget solves everything. Relevant. So is it relevant to our business? So if you're saying that we want to grow our market share by this in the FMCG category, and by the way, we want to acquire a fintech, for instance, or an NGO, something real off park, then that question would be, is it relevant? Or if you say we want to grow market share, and we want to grow let's say our followers, and you're tying that directly to the KPI of market share growth. Perhaps this would be a consequence of market share growth, but perhaps it's not relevant in this conversation. Or you say you want to grow market share, and by the way, I want to sign, please, anybody who's a fan, I'm just using that as an example, Iyabo Ojo or Bob Risky as a brand ambassador. So those kind of things, right? It's not relevant. And then you put a time to it. It needs to be within a time period. So by 2025, by Q4 2025, or by Q1 of 2027. And that's something that you can work towards. So that's a SMART objective. And usually, sometimes we receive briefs that we cannot put into this boxes, that don't tick all of these boxes. And it's our job, whether as account managers or as strategists, to be able to ask these questions, to interrogate the brief so that we are able to get these smart objectives. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but I really want to just show this video about how people could be so fixated on vanity metrics and ignore what impactful, effective advertising should be. So I just quickly play the video. I hope you can hear sound. Let me know if you can hear sound, just thumbs up or just drop a chat in the chat box.
No sound. No sound, Mayor.
Low sound. Low
No
or
sound.
no?
No sound.
No sound. Okay. All right. I think I need to share with sound. Let me stop sharing for now. And let me try that again. Okay, share with sound. All right, so I think you need to give me the access from here. I see the options, but I'm unable to choose it.
You mean sound is grayed out for you?
Yeah, it's grayed out.
Okay, let me see how that would work. Just a minute. Mm, You have pretty much access, all the access that is
All right, let me switch. Let me take a headset. Let's see if it works.
I'm assuming you're hearing the sound on your side. Okay. It's playing, but stutters a bit. Okay.
Choice clicks right here, yo. Impressions, page views, followers.
Are they pure?
Man, I don't cut with bots.
How about likes? You got some likes?
Well, this is a high class operation.
Come on. Everybody's doing it. I got my whole Q4 right here.
Whoa. Easy.
I just need enough to get me through this quarter.
Turn to the right.
Clicks. You are buying clicks. What will I tell the children?
And this was I mean, clearly from Adobe. What they were saying was, you know, there was a time where it was a big thing. I think it's still even relevant today. A lot of people would go buy a page with 50,000 followers, and you know, they use it for their business, or they are just buying likes, or you know, targeting clicks that are, you know, directing people to a landing page that is not optimized or not relevant to the business. All of that, while it might look good in a report, does not really show effective advertising. And I think gone are the days where, you know, brand managers or CMOs are happy to just see, oh, we reached 10 million people, we had 20 million impressions, we've grown by so amounts in this short period of time. They're not looking at impact on the business. They are looking at retention. They're looking at qualified leads. They're looking at conversions. They're looking at signups. They're looking at transaction value. So it's starting to evolve, and this is because I think a lot of agency people are now going to client side and bringing those education and enlightenment to brands and increasing and elevating the standards. Okay, so move on quickly. See, we are running out of time. Yeah, so this is just I'm sure Stan will share this, but it's just to show what it looks like when we're developing digital strategy, setting the objectives, choosing the channels based on the consumer, clearly. The content strategy in terms of what type of content is relevant today, what kind of messaging, how we use in different formats, from video to audio to text or images, to your media strategy between paid, owned platforms, and also looking at earned media as well, to the tactics, whether it's time-bound, whether it is built around a key date or a red letter day, all of those kind of things, or even making it maybe a freemium perspective where you sell the free package and then you make some features available within a premium paid subscription phase. So all of those things come under tactics. This is a very important slide, and I thought it was really important that we bring it because it's really relevant regardless of your industry or what you're trying to do, size of your business and all of that. It's looking at the buyer's journey and looking at the stages that a typical consumer will go from knowing that they have a problem to reviewing options and considering different options to buying and choosing which one to go with. And as we know, the lifeblood of every business is repeat business. So which is why retention is important. And retention will be dependent based on the frequency of purchase of that particular product. So you'd expect that the number of times I would buy, say, a Milo, for instance, a tin of Milo, or even a sachet of Milo, will be different from the number of times I would buy a car, for instance, or a phone, right? So that's how we need to look at it. And regardless of that product or service, every consumer goes through these stages. And it's important that when we're building out our strategy, we think about these stages and what we are saying, the kind of content we're providing to the consumer to help him or her move down the funnel. Speaking of content, it's almost cliche at this moment when we say that, so video is king, but I wanted to show it more from how people are being influenced by video and what it allows them to do, in this case, to find products to buy. So video is the most common format used by online shoppers when it comes to discovering or choosing what brands to buy. And it was quite interesting that short form videos are actually the most impactful in helping brands choose consumers choose what brands to buy, followed by long form video. Images with product tags, sponsored videos, and follow afterwards. But it was really important when I saw this, it was really important that we looked at it and I said, why? And what are the best case when we look at short form videos? What are the type of short form content that we should be looking at? And it's no surprise that even when we look across platforms, from meta platforms primarily, that short form content accounts for the most content that you find on these platforms. As much as 70% of content right now available is short form content, right? And there are some examples here. What should your short form content be like? How long should it be? What are the elements that should be in it? The next slide talks about that, but let me just show you an example here. This was for Milo. And it was pretty much a short, straight to the point, brand elements are there, ticks all the boxes in terms of guidelines that should be taken into consideration when you're creating short-form content. But let me play the video and then we'll talk about the guidelines in the next slide.
Teamwork. We stand as one. We play together.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, and the second one is for Visa. This takes a different approach.
Shop your favorite stores around the world online and check out with exclusive summer shopping deals and more. Courtesy of Visa. Visit visa.com.ng.
So again, straight to the point, very short content. But this is what it means to create that. Whether you are publishing on Meta, on YouTube, or on TikTok, these are some things that you need to pay attention to. First is thumbnail branding. As we saw with both the Milo example and the Visa example, you could pretty much see what the brand was about. And in some cases, you could tell what they're about to share. For Visa, it was products, it was buying. For Milo, it was the coach, was a message, right, around teamwork. Sound on, sound off. So you imagine that person does not have their audio on, so use subtitles as much as possible. Aspect ratio, clearly, are you designing 4:5, 9:16? Optimal length. Now this varies, but typically you would have 6 seconds, which typically leaves on YouTube as bumper ads, to 15 seconds. But what we've been doing, we've been playing with the 10-second sweet spot, which is we've seen has really helped us to be able to say more than what would typically go in a 6-second ad, and not also extend it all the way to 15 seconds, where we see that the view-through rate starts to drop at around that 12-second mark. So we've put it within the 10-second, and that's what we've been using for all our brands and publicists. So here's a short example. This was for Maggie. So again, the thumbnail is there. Whether you have sound on or sound off, you could see that it's about food. The message comes at the end. We also have the optimal length is 10 seconds. Aspect ratio is there. Brand upfront, so you know it's a video about Maggie. It's Maggie Diaries. Even if you don't know what Maggie Diaries is, you want to see what it is, and so you continue to the end. Clear call to action at the end. Download the recipe, the cookbook, with the numbers and the logo. Yeah, so just moving on very quickly. A few things that I'm going to skip this slide. So I have 2 slides on the power of business messaging. I don't want to take too much time, but I'll just move very quickly on this. We all know the importance of two-way conversations, and particularly when it comes to moving the consumer down that funnel. And brands and consumers are saying that I want to be able to talk to someone. I want to be able to reach out to someone and get, not an AI, not an autoresponder, reach out to help me resolve those things, right? So 71% of people are saying it's easier to message a business than dealing with a website. 69% are saying they are more likely to purchase or do business with a company that have messaging. So whether it's the chatbots, whether it's a DM, all of that stuff. 8% higher conversion rates and 50% new customers are coming through messaging, right? Because when we're experimenting, when we're speaking with, when we're trying to consider which brand to go with, we want to explore all of those things. How will the customer service be? Will they respond to me on time? Can I follow through? Can I speak to someone? All of those things is part of what consumers go through. All right, so I'll go to the next part of the presentation, and it is around AI. buzzword as of today, is it? Some people are saying, well, AI is not for me. It's gonna come and go. It's just like, some other fads that have come in the past and doesn't stick. What are your thoughts? And I would just like you to drop your comments in the chat box, in the chat, to say what are your thoughts around AI. Do you think it's here to stay? Do you think it's just a fad? Do you think it's here to take your job? What's your point of view on AI? So drop it in the chat. Would just like to see that. I really I found this meme quite interesting. I think it was quite funny. So this was for ChatGPT. When I realized ChatGPT can do my job for me, everybody's like, oh, so you can write that email, you can draft that stuff, you can review this, you can help me build a content calendar, you can help me build a digital strategy, all of that stuff. We're all happy. We say it's gonna make our job easy, right? And we can sit back and relax. And then the other one still, the same thing. When I realized ChatGPT can do my job for me, like, okay, like, I either need to step up my game, right? So that ChatGPT does not actually replace me. But I think really my opinion is that it is a tool that should be used, should be leveraged to make our work better, more efficient. It can be that brainstorming partner. So it's not that you're not going to come up with your own original ideas, but you can actually brainstorm with that AI, like Samsonine has done here, and also Ayowale. You are letting AI record this meeting for you so you can listen to it later on. AI is not going anywhere. AI is here to stay long term. AI is here to stay, adapt or die. Yeah, so Chuko, AI is just like MSX. It's a tool. But now there are AIs that can actually do that MS Excel for you. A couple of months ago, I wanted to take a course in MS Excel, and I was seeing all those formula and all those formula, and then I think last week a friend of mine just sent me an AI that can help me generate the formula. So just say what you want to do, and it will generate the Excel formula for you. Like, okay, this thing is really getting. So a lot of things you don't need to worry about anymore, but you still need to think the original thoughts, because you're going to be the one to say, okay, I want to see this data in this format. AI, help me do this. But that initial thought has to come from you. You can say, how else can I represent it? And then to show you options, right? But the human, I believe, is still in control, and we can use it as a tool to make us more effective, more efficient. It really helps me with starting when I find myself in a creative block. Yes, a lot of writers and strategists say that when they have a block, they just go to AI and helps them, with that banter, especially if you work alone. The human input is still very relevant and needed. Absolutely. Yeah, it's an enabler and a virtual colleague. Yes, so I agree. It's not here to take our jobs. It's here to make our jobs better and us being able to do more within a short period of time. But also, even from a quality perspective, is to help us elevate the quality of our output. So from things like, entertainment to shopping to transportation, AI is here to health. AI is here and is here to take over. Whether we like it or not, we have to find a way to immerse and embrace an AI into our day-to-day. And even when we look at it from a Marcom or Martech perspective, AI is helping us be more effective, helping us drive our costs down, helping us identify our audiences. We all know that what people say they are online is different from who they are really. So if I do a poll now and I say that, how often are you online, right? And you say about 6 hours or something. I'll say, how often do you use Instagram? Thankfully, some of our smartphones are able to show how much time we're spending online. But if you say that, oh, are you a music fan, or would you buy this product for this, maybe the new, okay, it's not new anymore, the VR gear by Apple. It's $2,000. Say lie like that can be me. But in 3 months, you hit a rainfall, you get into content creation, and maybe you say, you know what, I want to review this product, and if I do this, it's gonna help me do X, Y, Z. Then help me break into content creation and within the tech space. Suddenly, you are searching for that product. Or you were single before, now you're married, and suddenly you're checking for baby products or travel destinations and all that kind of stuff. If you haven't updated that online, there's no way, if I'm Cerilac, for instance, and I'm trying to sell baby products, I won't target you, because from what you said online, you're not in that stage of life. But AI is able to see those data signals. So it's able to see that, okay, this guy is suddenly searching for baby clothes and searching for trimester stuff and all of that, delivery, safety precautions, all that kind of stuff, or even hospitals for the best postnatal care and all that stuff, right? This guy is interested in this. So your AI is able to serve that, identify that person and serve the relevant information to it. But if you use it based on targeting alone, as we used to do, we'll say, oh, my target audience is 18 to 45, 18 to 40, 18 to 35, interested in this, and that. And then, we box it. And so if that is not part of the data signals, you won't reach that person. And what these platforms are telling you today, from the Meta platforms to Twitter, to Snap, to TikTok, is, and Google, of course, is open it up. Just tell us that it's 18 to 45, and let us use our huge machine learning capabilities to help you identify that person who's relevant, who needs your product or service at that time. I like this point. Sorry to just take us back, but I like this point from Folakemi. AI collates bits of information. Humans have to fact check and add context. So a lazy AI user might do poor work. Yes. Yeah. So still on the MarTech space, these are some of the things that AI is able to do. All of the MarTech platforms now have AI integrated. In fact, there are few platforms, there are few service providers now that don't have some form of AI integration to their platforms. AI is literally on our messaging apps. AI is on our design platforms, our Adobe, our Canva. It's on our Samsung phones. It's on our Apple phones. So we can use that in our day-to-day. It's on WhatsApp, it's on Instagram. AI is everywhere. And you don't need some kind of certification to be able to use it, right? Yeah. So 3 key trends I wanted to point out when it comes to AI in today's market is clearly rise of generative AI. Creativity is now for all. Everybody's creative. We can all go to that AI platform and say, show me an image of a bird flying in the sky, whatever. And you'd have a decent image that you probably would have struggled to do if you had gone to Photoshop or Canva. Now the phones, literally smartphones, are even able to elevate your drawing. Just yesterday with the Samsung Unpacked. So you can actually draw an image and use AI to bring it to life, essentially. So turn it into a graphic design. So creativity is now for everybody. And then the third part, which is around optimizations. And I kind of alluded to it in the previous slide. You now have AI-powered production, so you can produce your images, your assets using AI, and then you can optimize your campaigns for effectiveness using AI as well. How are some of the ways that people are using AI today? Again, no surprises here. When I saw this, I was like, okay, true facts. copywriting. We're using AI a lot for writing, whether it's our emails or it's for that creative message, and we put in some options and we say tweak this, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. It's not always the best, but I think it helps brainstorm and have that back and forth with the copywriter, with that creative, and then they distill it and make it theirs. This is not to say that AI can actually do it the way a human would, but I think it helps you when you are doing that bantering, when you're doing that refining. Ultimately, the end goal, the output is yours. So summarizing large text, I know when I get some large reports like 100 pages, I just put it on AI. Adobe does that very well, just to summarize this. And it gives me, in the paragraph, bullet points, what would have taken me maybe a week to read with my schedule. I can literally read it and absorb it in 10 minutes. So competitor analysis. So we use it for analysis as well, particularly AI that are now connected to the web. So we're able to pull data from the web. GPT 4.0, Gemini is also really good with that. Customer insights, predictive insights, creative versioning. So creating different versions. So you've created something and then you ask it to give me options for this. Asset creation, strategy, concept, setting benchmarks, particularly across category. Just 8% are saying that they're not going to use AI. So yeah, there are still people that have not bought onto it. Key point here is that 33% of campaign assets will be using Gen AI by 2025. 33%. Let's say 3 out of 10 will be either influenced by AI. So it's either I start with AI to give me, to brainstorm, or I do my version and then I ask AI to, to tweak it, clean it up, take out the shadows, whatever, all this kind of stuff. 33%. That's just by 2025. So it's really, really here to stay, and it's really part of our day-to-day and our business and how we can be better at what we do. Okay, so I have a few examples. Again, I hope that the sound is good enough. This was by Samsung. It's no news. I'm a Samsung fan. Forgive me, iPhone people. But yeah, this was a case study by Samsung where they used. Most of us are familiar with DCO, dynamic creative optimization, but they really took it to a different level, and particularly using AI to optimize the best combinations of assets to serve to the Gen Z female, the Samsung male audience. So there is one set of ad that goes to Gen Z Apple users that are female. So competition, they're targeting people that are using Apple. And the message was crafted in a certain way that resonates more with that female who's using an Apple phone. And then they have another one that is served to Samsung users and just asking them to upgrade. So I'll play each of the video. The first one goes to the female Apple users. Again, remember the short form videos? From this, you can see the thumbnail, you get what is coming, brand up front, optimize for sound on, sound off, aspect ratio is there. You get it, right? So thumbnail and all that speaks. So I'll play that. All right, so that's the one that went to the female Apple users. The one that goes to male Samsung users, this is the best performing version. So you can see that it's almost like the same frames, but they mix it differently. They also have different messages. They're stacking one before. So this one starts with design to be epic in every way. that draws you in. I want to see. And then the visual there, draws you in. This one starts with made for the epic in every day, a different version, you're just tweaking it. And then you have a female with a phone. And all those combinations and permutations are optimized for your different audience segments or your different ad sets, depending on how you set up your campaign, to drive that impact, right? So the results here, 12% increase in switches from Apple, 50% reduction in setup time to activate. Imagine if you had to shoot all of those videos, you're editing, you're sitting on your ad director, yeah, edit your video editor, give me this version, yeah, manual process, right? Optimize it with AI, you get over 4,000 versions just from one set of templates. All right. I'm gonna skip. I have an activity I'm gonna skip, but I want to show us a few use cases and I'll round off. Stan, can I go on? I know we just crossed the time by 3 minutes.
Please, you can go on. You can go on. The video is being recorded, so if whoever is on the call, if you have another conflicting event, you can always drop off, but the video will be available. As long as you're an AdMap member, you will get access to the video. So please continue.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I have a few cases and this is supposed to serve as inspiration for us in how brands have used AI, from voice to visuals to even brands within the media space, social impacts cases. You see all of that. I wanted to choose that so that it just enlightens us and challenges us to play and have fun with AI as it gets better and better. Okay, so the first one is a use case for Oreos, and here they used voice cloning, where they used this Indian actor to create different versions of sounds and be able to say different things using Oreo as the platform. And I'll just play the video very quickly and we'll move on to the next. I have 4 videos to play and then we can wrap it up. So first one is this.
The world has so much to say, but hey, sometimes we feel too awkward to say anything.
How do I tell my parents I got a tattoo?
How do I tell my spouse I forgot our anniversary?
How do I tell my boss I want a raise?
Clearly, the world is running out of words. So we found someone who never struggled with words and replies, Farhan Akhtar, and created a pack of playful words. Presenting Say It with Oreo. We spent hours recording Farhan Akhtar's voice and created a voice bank that captured his words, pronunciation, and emotions. We then used AI to analyze our data submission and collaborated with the leading voice generative AI platform to clone his voice. But that wasn't the toughest part. We identified every tough conversation and trained machine learning to answer every question. We finally created a platform where people were able to say the things that they struggled to say. Just type in your awkward questions and get a response in Farhan's voice.
I had a penny for every time I asked you to return my money. I would be rich. So give me my money, give me my money, give me my money, give me my money, give me my money.
How do I tell my partner that I don't like their cooking?
Your cooking is the real deal. The only taste that helps me lose weight. Because that's the only way I would have skipped a meal.
So the next time when you're at a loss of words, just say it with Oreo.
Okay, the next one, while this one uses voice, the next one uses visual imaging. So it changes the face and makes it look like it's almost like deep fake. It makes it look like the actor is saying something else. And this was for not just a Cadbury ad, it's a Cadbury ad that has been going on for a while. Some of us have heard about this before, but they've really they elevated this to the next level by using AI here to make their influencer say different things and help amplify different businesses in India. So I'll play this real quick.
Big businesses and brands that suffered during the pandemic found their way back, but the smaller stores still suffer.
This lockdown has been a real tough phase of my life. I mean, I have seen bad days, but this was the worst.
Last year, we helped small businesses through Diwali. So this year, we decided to bring it back. Presenting not just a Cadbury ad. This Diwali, we helped hundreds of small businesses by making India's biggest brand ambassador be their brand ambassador.
इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाले फैशन नोवा एम्पोरियम से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करें और फिर एम्पायर फुटवेयर नाम तो सुना होगा अपना स्टाइलिश चश्मा बगल वाले हेवन आई ऑप्टिशियन से ही लेना सिद्धि विनायक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स से लेटेस्ट स्मार्टफोन खरीद कर धमाकेदार सेल्फी पोस्ट करना
क्या कर रहे हो? मीठा लाए कि नहीं?
आया हो ना यार अपने पास वाले रोशन किराना से आप भी अपना मीठा वहीं से लेना
We used machine learning to recreate Shah Rukh Khan's face and voice to take the local store names in the ads.
इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाली चॉइस ऑफ फैशन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करें पास वाले आजकल फैशन से ही रॉयल फैशन से ही इनके क्लॉथ्स से ही पास वाली लक्ष्मी कलेक्शन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करें इस दिवाली आप भी अपने पास
Different versions of the same ad with local store names were targeted as per the PIN code of the viewer, showing them only the nearby stores. But it is impossible to cover all the stores. So we gave the power to the people to create their own version of not just a Cadbury ad. Any small business owner could promote their stores through their own social media networks like WhatsApp forwards and other social media pages.
हमारे आसपास की जो दुकानें हैं उनकी दिवाली भी तो मीठी होनी चाहिए
Cadbury celebrations, not just a Cadbury ad.
So one of the things I have two more and then we'll wrap up. One of the things when I started seeing how brands are using AI, and I just dropped that, I'd really like to see how we can start integrating AI into our campaign ideas. And the best way to do this, as I've found from experience, is to share this kind of thinking with your creative team. Because when they understand how it works, then they can creatively bring it to life or come up with creative ideas that integrates those capabilities. And I'll give you an example. Unfortunately, I don't have, we literally just concluded the campaign, and so I don't have it yet. We used AI for a Maggie campaign that we just ended. And the premise was this: in the past, we do user-generated content. We ask our users to prepare a meal and stand a chance to win gifts, including a ram. This was around Eid al-Adha or something, right? Salah. And, but what that would mean is that you literally have to go to the market, buy the ingredients, cook, take the picture, the lighting, all of that. You know how these things can be. And a lot of culinary brands, that's that strategy has been used a lot, right? And, all of that, and people have to take the picture. It becomes very, very immersive. That you have to be vested in it. You have to really want, and your value exchange has to be enough to make people go through all of that. And then you get to win, right? So we thought about how can we make this easier for people to participate? How can we increase the engagement? How can we make it more inclusive? And this was just off the Meta AI rolling out on WhatsApp and all of that. We see WhatsApp as a huge channel that is growing across the region. even for people who are not digitally savvy, who are not using big smartphones, can have access to it. And so we, rather than asking people to cook, we ask people to put a prompt in their Meta AI to come up with a fantastic dish using ram meats, right? And the best entries now stand a chance of actually winning those gifts, including a real ram that you can now go and cook. So far, we're still working on the reports. So far, the entries are in excess of 500%. Like, I've not seen a final report, but entries are off the roof, right? The engagements, the immersions, the versions as well. Again, people can enter multiple times. Before, if you wanted to enter multiple times, you had to cook multiple times, right? But now you can just change a prompt, you can tweak it, and, oh, this one is better. You can come up today and say, okay, I want to put this entry, this one is better than the one yesterday. And it was fine. So we had a lot more of that. There was a lot more engaging. People were finding it, oh, so I can actually do this on WhatsApp. Now, if you want to take it further, it will be easier because now we've onboarded that habit. We've gotten people used to trying that, and it's something we can now own, right? So that's just one example. I'm challenging you now to think about how you can have an AI integrated campaign idea. And like I said, please work with your creative guys. Don't try to think about it from a digital perspective alone. Share these innovations, share these opportunities, share these case studies with the creative team and say, these are some of the things we can use voice, we can use voice imaging, we can use and let's brainstorm. I think that really elevates our outputs, help us grow our businesses, and help us impact, keep our clients happy. Okay, the next one is a Nestle example. This was all the way from Colombia. Again, they used Gen AI to create different recipes, dessert recipes particularly, and bring it to life. And it's just fantastic. I think this is a proper brand equity campaign, right? It's not designed to drive short-term sales, but rather build the brand equity for the long term. So I'll play the video real quick and we can discuss.
No solo en Colombia, sino a nivel Nestlé mundial, es la primera vez que vamos a hacer algo de este tipo.
Nunca me imaginé que uno pudiera probar un postre hecho por la inteligencia artificial.
How many dessert recipes can be made with condensed milk in 100 years? We made all the humanly possible. That's why at La Lechera, to celebrate our 100-year anniversary in Colombia, we wanted to create never-before-seen recipes with never-before mixed ingredients. Taste the AI. We created 10 recipes that represented each decade, and among their ingredients, we included a historic event, a trending fruit, a popular artist, condensed milk, and the word dessert. With help from a historian, we gathered the most relevant data from each decade and put it into Mid-Journey. When the information was processed, the image of a dessert was created, and then, with the help of an expert pastry chef, we brought it to the real world to give it a real taste.
Nunca me hubiera imaginado que la moda y la música pudieran ser un ingrediente para una receta.
The desserts were displayed and tested at the Museum of Modern Art in Bogotá, and the recipes are now part of recetasnestle.com.co.
Me comí solamente un postre que es delicioso, sino también me comí un trozo de historia.
La lechera le trajo vida a los postres únicos inspirados en algunos de los hitos del siglo en Colombia.
Una combinación como de historia y dulce. Con ese postre probé algo totalmente fuera de lo común y me encanta.
Los seres humanos somos el resultado de experiencias y estos postres de nuestra historia.
So that was Taste the AI. I see a question or just comment from Fola Kemi. Yes, copyright clearly is a concern. I think for particularly when you're working with influencers, like we saw with the Oreo example and the Cadbury example. Of course, you need to sign those contracts. And what we've seen is that there are usually clauses within those contracts that give you the time that you can use those images. You also have, when you're building the voice bank or image bank, there are also clauses that say the kind of language or words that cannot be used. So you cannot make my character say "fuck you," for instance, or any of those kind of things. So those are things that are captured within the clause. So it's the legal team usually takes care of that, but it is possible to leverage this kind of technology, and you don't have any issues around copyright. Okay, start provoking. Okay, thank you. All right, so I'll play the last one. This I found really, really impactful because of the social impact and also the outcome they were able to achieve with this. So this was using deepfake technology like wholeheartedly, not in a common industry in journalism, and this was done in Mexico. I'll play the video because it's the story in itself, and I found it really. I saved it for last. I found it really powerful.
En la gran mayoría del país es el crimen organizado el que manda. Y claro que yo tengo miedo.
Han asesinado al escritor y periodista Jesús Javier Valdés Cárdenas.
Quel est le pays du monde le plus dangereux pour les journalistes? Ce n'est ni l'Afghanistan, ni l'Irak, où les violences sont pourtant quotidiennes. C'est le Mexique.
Han pasado más de 3 años del asesinato del periodista Javier Valdés. Hoy volvió. Vea de qué manera.
Señor presidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador, el 15 de mayo de 2017 fui asesinado por órdenes de alguien a quien no le gustó lo que publiqué. Pero aquí estoy, como me ve, hablándole.
No solo son buenos periodistas, son prudentes. Y si ustedes se pasan, pues ya saben, ¿no? Lo que sucede, ¿no?
Yo no tengo miedo, señor presidente, porque no me pueden matar 2 veces.
De verdad, fue una sacudida la campaña el día de hoy. Ha sido de verdad una revolución.
Los periodistas asesinados no se pueden olvidar. Tenemos que seguir exigiendo justicia.
¿Por qué esos reporteros siguen hablando?
Aunque quieran callarnos, seguimos hablando.
Deep fake, deep truth. This blew my mind. Imagine your president telling you that you know what's going to happen if you step out of line, right? And this is something that's they used to real impact. They actually took the president out, and they were able to also drive convictions. This wouldn't have happened without the power of technology, without the power of AI. So again, I like to see this kind of use cases because you now start to see what's possible. And when I go to creative guys like Chima, like Ayo, and guys like this, they are able to, why don't we do that? Why can we do this? They will also test the limits to say, can I do this? Can AI do that? Can this technology do this? That's how we need to have those kind of conversations and those kind of platforms to be able to elevate our work, to be able to stay relevant, and stay ahead of the curve. So let's get to work. Thanks everyone. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me. All right, back to you.
Fantastica. Thank you so much. That was a lot to take in. I think it builds on very, very well from the session we had yesterday with Nengi from Cannes. A lot of things that she said, you also re-emphasized them. Digital is here to stay. Digital has now been more relevant. You need to focus on the consumers. AI is here to stay. Brand building is very, very important. A lot of things Nengi mentioned yesterday, you just re-echoed it. Thank you so much. Quality presentation. I'm going to go into questions now and see if we have any questions. Please, can we get the slides? Yes, you can get the slide if you're a member of the DMM and AdMap community. If you are not, you need to go to admap.com and find out how to be a member so we can give you the slides. Does anybody have any questions? I'm happy to unmute you. If you can raise up your hand so that you can ask Muyiwa your question directly. Is there any hand up? Okay, Muyiwa, I personally have a question. I think for someone that also works in the industry, it can get very frustrating when you see that so much has changed in terms of how users are consuming media and commercials. But for some reason, digital publicity occupies aggregate maybe 10%. I know you touched on quite a bit of those things, but what do you think what do you think would be responsible to ensure that before a campaign starts, agencies and brand managers haven't already pre-concluded that 80% is going to go to traditional? Because it looks like it's the same playbook. I left the agency side donkey years ago. When I look at how campaigns are still being planned, it's still pretty much looking like the same thing. What do you think could be responsible? Why do you think, even for companies where you have CMOs, marketing directors that appear to be very digitally savvy, they still tend to skew towards billboards? Don't get me wrong, billboards TV is fantastic. But why do you think digital still represents such a small chunk in the whole equation?
Stan, very, very good question. And that's if we start talking about it, we'll be here till tomorrow. There are a number of factors. I think us as professionals, we also need to take responsibility for part of the reason why it's still like that. Before that change would happen, a number of things need to happen at different levels from all the stakeholders. So the clients, the agencies, the platform owners, they all need to do better. If you look at out of home, for instance, there is little to no attribution as at today. I can't say that these are the number of people that have seen this billboard. Yet, if you look at it for cost per inventory, it's the most expensive. But the same case can be made for digital. We can show that this person has seen the ad, but we can't attribute it to sales, or we don't attribute it to sales. For most categories, it's difficult to do. But for some categories, it's quite straightforward. I think we need to start pursuing that attribution to be able to show that this communication or this campaign, this budget has been able to give you this level of some kind of measurable impact, whether it is ad recall or brand preference or actual conversion sales. We need to be bringing that to the table and speaking in the language that the C-suites understand. If we keep saying reach 10 million people, you won't convince a CEO or a CMO to spend more with you. You need to show attribution towards metrics that CMOs care about, towards brand preference, towards differentiations, towards sales uplift. We need to start showing a lot more about that and find creative ways, working with platforms, because we can't do it as agencies alone, right? Working with platforms to create that. Working also the clients, the brands themselves to create that, whether you're saying that, oh, let's create, this community for your sales rep. Let's be able to identify when we are running a campaign, we want to see whether your sales orders goes up during that period. We want to see whether your inventory from your distributors across. So all of those things are things we can bring to bear. We can't think in silos. And this is what I was saying at the start, that you can't think digital marketing only. You need to think 360, because that CMO is thinking about his distribution. Is thinking about, is my biggest retailer increasing his stock during this period? All of those things, we need to follow supply chain. We need to get interested and start asking those questions and ask to be in those rooms where those conversations are being had. When they are spending 40% on BTL, we need to be there and say, okay, are you collecting leads? Are you collecting first-party data? Can I retarget those people that have come for this event that you've sponsored? All of those things are things we need to start having conversations and being part of those conversations, being in the room when those conversations are being had. Not, oh, when they're talking digital, they now call it digital person. Yeah, come and do digital. After they've finished, they spend that 80%. And now they, oh yeah, digital, take. So we need to be part of those conversations, but we need to be able to speak those languages. We need to understand those pain points that the CMO has and speak to it to address it. That's when things like, oh, you know what? We're starting to see uplifts when we run campaigns. We're starting to run BLS studies. We are seeing our ad recall. We are seeing how that is influencing purchase during this period. We are seeing how TV and video is giving us incremental reach. All of that stuff, we need to be part of the conversation. So you need to go in with your traditional media planner and say, okay, what's your GRP? What are you getting with this budget? Okay, if I layer YouTube on it, I'm going to give you this incremental reach. Let's go together. You're speaking. You're not just there when you're talking digital. You're there when you're talking marketing. And you can speak up and address those kind of things. And then your CMO starts to look at you differently. And okay, we're doing annual planning. Invite your digital team. That's when things like will start to change. And like, okay, we need to increase budgets on digital. I remember when I joined Starcom, the feedback then was digital budget rose from 7% to about 30% in 2 years. Massive growth. It's still, I mean, less than 50%. But if you see from where it started, it was this kind of conversations that we are able to come together as one team and talk to the challenges of the problem and say how we're going to help resolve those problems. So it's not just about, I'm going to grow your follower page. I'm going to give you this number of engagements. That's the bottom of the
all the very nice vanity KPIs, I like to call them. I mean, I worked on the agency side and on the brand side for several years, and also on the platform side. And those 3 times I was happy. I was fortunate to have also worked on the Nestle brand, just like you have. And one thing I would give to Nestle today is the ability to bring all stakeholders to the table. New major campaign is about to launch. The brand has put together a fantastic brief. They call in everybody, experiential, digital, creative, media, PR.
Yeah.
You take it a step further. When I was at Meta, then they bring in Meta, they bring in Google, they bring in X, they bring in Eskimi, they bring in pretty much everybody and they brief everybody. So right from the very start, it shows that this is going to be very, very collaborative. I think that's something that more brands in Nigeria need to do. I think it shouldn't just always be the case of the agency has decided to spread the money this way. And we all know that at times there's always that issue of vested interest. It's something I've been very outspoken about in the industry, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
But I think the Nestle way is highly commendable. Okay, I think we have, okay, Taiwo, I'm going to unmute you. You quickly introduce yourself, your company, and you ask your question. Taiwo, you can speak now. Hello, Taiwo. Was Taiwo raising his hand mistakenly or what? Okay, so no Taiwo. Okay, I think there are no more questions. This was a fantastic session. I mean, just looking at the comments, everybody's really, really happy. Great insights shared, Muiwa. Thank you so much. For those of you that felt this felt like a tsunami drinking from a fire hydrant, we'll have the deck in the group for you. For those of you that are not part of AdMap and you want that deck, please come and join. Taiwo, I see your apologies. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Taiwo. Taiwo, if you have a question, quickly go ahead and ask your question. You can still ask your question. Okay. Or if you're having technical issues with audio, you could just type it out.
Yeah, it's dropping in the chat.
Somebody's about to chance you now. Itwa, the floor is yours.
Hello, Muiwa. Hello, Stan. Good afternoon, everyone. What a wonderful session. I think I joined halfway when I got the notification on the group. Someone was saying you're dishing insights, and I was like, well, I can't miss this. I love the case studies around the AI and the use of AI. It's not new that it has come to stay, and it's something that is growing with us, and we're trying to adapt. However, I think there's riding on the last question that was asked about how we can move things further. It's both a question and some sort of contribution. I think there's an element of digital across the line, like through the line, above and below. It's just for us to see how we can leverage the data, like you have said, and bring that to digital with our implementation. However, we know how nuanced and how bureaucratic our client side can be, as one who has moved to the client side, we know how, to an extent, how the bottlenecks can be. How can we move the needle as regards giving that level of relevance to digital marketing when we know that in terms of population, we're not as vast as the reach that the traditional marketing would do. We understand how the penetration is growing, but then not as much as the data has actually shown that. So how can we show more value? You spoke about the value chain. The CFO is looking at the numbers. The CEO is looking at his numbers. Marketing is more commercial than, you'd have to really go far to prove the brand building, bit of it without having both a brand and business, objective to every of your campaign. So how can we drive the conversation forward, in terms of showing the numbers when in some cases you don't even have the structure to get this data, or the CFO is not ready to invest in, ways for you to even get this data.
Thanks, Itwa. Stan, do you want to speak to him?
It was asking powerful question. You want me to answer? You are the one that is the
boy.
You are invited now. You are the guest to answer all the questions. I'm just the host.
It is It is a real challenge. And those are real problems. Those are things that we discuss every day. Data is a big challenge. And I think we need to invest in getting that data. We also need to invest in getting the right data. As you know, brands still spend a lot on research, on reports, on ethnography. If they want to release a new product, they're going to spend money on research. They're going to test it. When they want to run a campaign, they're going to do link testing. They're going to test for acceptance, right? So it's not that money is not being spent on research, on data collection. We are just not prioritizing some type of research. Or we're not bringing up those conversations. So if you look at the data, what the data says today, forget population. Who is your audience? We're saying that 50% of Nigerians have access to the internet. We're saying that 90% of Nigerians have access to a mobile phone. So what is your audience segment in that? And let me show you. Just because, traditional still accounts for this does not mean that your own customer, your own ideal buyer, when you look at your buyer persona, is not maybe 80% of the people that can be reached online. So different industries have to look at it differently. Startups, people like Uber, they don't piggyvest and the like. They don't even think twice. Most of their budget goes to digital. Over 50% of their budget goes to digital because they know their audience, a chunk of their audience, so kind of their ideal customer, are on digital. So they want you to download that app. They're not expecting you to walk into a physical store. They do offline, of course. They do the PR elements. But where the meat of the matter is on digital. So for FMCGs or CPGs, you also need to ask yourself, who is my ideal customer? Who is that person that is going to buy? And then who are the influences? So if you are a family product, for instance, where the mom is the primary buyer and the influencers are the kids, maybe the dad, then you need to say what population, what size of my audience is offline, what size of them is online for digital, and what size of them can I reach via mobile? And then you can now make a case and say, no, I can still get 100% or I can still get 70% to 80% of my reach using digital and mobile. And traditional, while we say it's everywhere, my audience don't actually listen to radio when they are on the move. They are listening to that podcast. They are listening to their playlist on the drive to work. While you say, oh, out of home, third mainland, everybody sees it. Well, I'm not seeing it. I'm listening to my morning message. Do you get? I'm not even reading it. While you say TV, massive reach. Well, I'm spending time watching my DSTV and Showmax and all of that, and Netflix. So we need to be looking at the numbers. If you say you want to, oh no, my product is for bottom of the pyramid, that's a different conversation, right? You need to come with facts, and that's what we're trying to do. So we work with all the stakeholders. We work with the research agencies. We work with the media team. We work with the client team. We work with the sales team on the client side as well. And that's why I keep saying we need to be in the rooms where all these conversations are happening. So if I ask the sales guy, the sales manager, I say, who are the people that buy? What day do they buy the most? How do they prefer it? Do they buy in bulk? Do they buy sachet? All of those things. I go to the modern trade as well. I do my research. I do my sampling. Say, oh, why are you choosing this brand? Why not this brand? Oh, okay, I saw the ad. Oh, my kid likes it. So it really did not matter that you saw the ad. It was because your kid said, mommy, I want this. And that starts to inform our strategy. When you bring that to the conversation with your client, the client looks at you differently. He or she is not thinking, they just want us to spend more money on digital. He sees and say, this person, they've gone above and beyond. They know what they're talking about. They want this business to grow. It's about impact. And so I'm going to listen to them with a different mindset. So they're also happy to share some things with you. Oh, okay, we're actually working on the different variant. How do you think that will happen? Okay, we'll invite you to the factory. They will ask you, come to the factory, see how it works. And you start seeing how that body language will start to change. And it becomes more collaboration than client agency. We're telling you what to do. We run the campaign. This is the brief. And you're also just, oh, they're giving us brief, creative, media plan, run, report. And that's the extent of the relationship. Agencies need to embrace and be more involved in the client's business to be able to have those kind of conversations. You can come and say, client, see what your competition is doing. They've launched this campaign or they did this partnership, even though they didn't publicize it, but from a PR perspective, they're talking about it. Client starts to look at you differently. So when you come and say, this is the direction it's going, this is what the numbers are saying, we want to have this level of sufficiency on digital because that's how we can attribute. And besides, we are following the journey. So we are driving that traffic here. We are measuring it here. We are running both offline research as well as online research, and we use the two data to validate post-campaign. All of those things help. So if I come and tell you that I'm running a BLS, I'm going to run a pre-campaign survey. I'm going to ask people what their likelihood or what their preference is for your product. Then I'll run the campaign and I'll measure the same thing. I say, what's the preference? And I come to you and say, this is it. Just because of this communication we've done for this 3 months period that encompasses digital, we've seen a preference level by plus 25 points, base points, all of that stuff. You come to clients and have these kind of conversations. It's beyond reach, impressions, engagement, follower growth. I believe that's where we need to get to, and we're already doing it. Those are the kind of relationship we push for with our clients, and we're having with our clients. And it allows us to do a lot more innovative work. I hope that answers your question, it's one.
Okay, I think we have a last question. Taiwo was able to chat. Can you read? You can see Taiwo's chats.
Yep. Nice one, Muyo. Great to hear from you again. Most Gen AI are not nuanced to Africa storytelling, from images to text. Attentive ideogram lately. I also see Is there a question? Okay. How can we collaborate as communities to train ML systems with AI builders for this? Yeah. I remember I was trying to come up with Black image, young guy at the bar for a particular brand. And I struggled before I got it. It eventually came out well, but I struggled before I got to something that could be used. These things actually, there's one part of working with the developers, with the guys at the back end, but there's also the part where you are actually searching. These guys listen to and they search for, what are people asking for? Also, so that they now start tailoring the AI to work better with it. We are not just using it enough. So that's the easy, almost low-hanging fruit. Just using more, ask for those same queries. It's machine learning, it's artificial intelligence. It gets better the more you use it. And then there's also some private players are starting to build their own stack that are more African-centric, particularly around animation, gaming space. There's this company called Vortex that we're doing a lot of great work. So they are building specifically for African culture. Of course, from the start, they've already set those in motion. But I think for the more bigger platforms, it's the more we use it, the better it gets. And you won't get there day one, right? It's give it time. except you are planning on starting your own thing and making it open to the world. And you're not charging anybody for for subscription. But yeah, give it time.
So I can just add to I can also quickly just add to that. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I don't have the names of the startups off the top of my head, but I know that there are quite a lot of startups now that are pushing for African-centric content, and I've started to work on it. I also know that the Minister of Communication, Minister of Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, also has they have work ongoing on a national AI strategy to address things like this. And a lot of those startups, I don't know their names, have been factored into this as well. So that's a lot of this learning. It's not based on, just permit me to use the word Oyinbo data that we're just going to be used. Also to get access to African-centric data, African images, and train the AI. I know that's also part of why we have that national AI strategy thing going.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic session, guys. We've gone to approaching 2 hours officially. Amazing. At this point, I'm going to end the webinar. We're going to make the video available. Muiwa, thank you so much again. And we hope when we reach out to you next time, you'll also be more than excited to honor us. Next, look out for the calendar. You all have it already in the group. The next one is going to be very practical. It's media planning and buying 101 by our own Tunji. I'm sure that one is going to come very loaded. So if you've always wanted to do media planning, if you've always wanted to buy, this is the cost. Even if you're an experienced person, you might be able to get 1 or 2 things from this. But if you're not part of AdMap, obviously you won't have access to this because we are not opening this one up to the public. Muiwa, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for attending as well. At this juncture, I will end the webinar. You guys have an amazing day.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Bye.